Hi marketer, Ty here with part 2 of our fascinating Lean Mean Marketing Team's podcast episode with Lotte Spencer, Global Director of Consumer Product Marketing at Spotify. In part 1 we learned about Lotte's fascinating career path that led her to be working with Spotify. We also discovered how Lotte has designed, built and positioned the product marketing team at Spotify over the past 4 years. It is phenomenal what this team of 6 has achieved and how they work together with the product team, regional and other parts of the global marketing team. If you're new to the topic of product and product marketing, then make sure you go back and listen to episode 1 as Lotte outlines a key purpose of both teams. In this part 2, we kick off by talking about how Lotte stays connected in a globally dispersed team and during a pandemic, but we then shift gears and the focus of the episode is really about the innovative culture at Spotify. From how the Spotify model for scaling Agile has evolved over time at Spotify, through to how the product marketing team gets involved in design sprints and hack weeks. I was also excited to learn that Spotify, being a Swedish company, embraces a Swedish philosophy known as Lagom, which has to do with a balanced life of not too little, not too much, and slowing down. I was really surprised that a tech company as successful as Spotify would embrace this way of working, as it seems counterintuitive to the fast-paced tech world, but I also fully appreciate how it could stave off burnout and give people permission to work in a more sustainable way and could be a real competitive advantage for them. Lotte also unleashes some gems in the rapid fire at the end, so tune into this episode, check out part 1 as well if you haven't already, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Lean Mean Marketing Teams with Ty Hayes, where you'll hear from leading CMOs and thought leaders about what it takes to create a high-performance marketing team. This podcast is brought to you by Growth Generators, a consulting firm that helps CMOs design and build modern marketing teams that drive growth. If you need help optimizing your marketing team, head to growthgenerators.io. Now, let's get on to the show.
Do have, a large dispersed global marketing team, which you're a part of. How is that managed at Spotify? You know, I imagine there's the regional teams in all different regions and markets, and then some in Stockholm and yourself in London. How is it managed across several countries and time zones?
The wider marketing organization itself has a few, similarly small size kind of global marketing functions. Primarily the seat of a lot of the marketing capability, global marketing capability, is New York. So when we launched the US market, we also, built out a lot of skills and capabilities in marketing in New York. But the regional teams sit out in the regions and, we'll have kind of regional hubs. I think that as an overall consumer marketing organization, we, like any company, we've moved between centrally controlled out to kind of, more kind of regionally driven, and, it's a sort of pendulum that swings backwards and forwards. Yeah. I would say that at this stage, a lot of us have been on the pendulum for a few years, and I think that we also are quite recently departed VP of marketing. She was actually our head of Japan marketing and then moved into a global role, and a lot of what she did was bring us much closer to the regional team. So from my perspective, I consider, and I have a very good and open relationship with all of the regional marketing leads, and I think that it makes a huge difference in terms of that partnership between us as global and those teams as local. I also, as I said, brought someone in from a regional team to be in my global team. Our individual team is all over the place. So I have one guy in Helsinki, there's 2 of us in London, although obviously we can't physically meet each other anymore. I actually have one person in New York, one person who's I need to get out of this bad weather. I'm in Miami now. I'm wow. That's fine. Yeah. And one person in LA. So we cover, and Stockholm, we have the kind of the production team is mostly in Stockholm. They need to be close to the product folks. Yeah, we're spread across a lot of space and time. But we have maintained connection to the Stockholm office, which is where not all of the product teams are, but the product leadership and a lot of the kind of product functionality is built out in Stockholm.
And what's worked well to maintain your sense of connection with each other? Do you have regular weekly or monthly calls, or is Slack, used?
Yeah, we do. We have a lot. I mean, yes, there's a million different like communication
tools. Yeah.
Kind of in this, again, we live between two worlds because all of product is on Slack. Marketing tends to use Hangouts, so we're kind of between the two. But my team, speaks like multiple times a week. We speak to the regional teams multiple times a week. So I think all of us see the value in kind of investing in that time. I mean, I've had 2 people join the team sort of in lockdown or like during the COVID crisis. So a lot of them have never even met their kind of product counterparts in person. We have when we were in the office, there was a very, comprehensive, capabilities around video calling and I guess technological solutions that allow us just to ping anyone anytime. But I think that, we all miss being in the same room together. And when we do have the kind of, the global marketing teams, everybody would fly in from all over. Dubai was a good option because it was like not too awful for most people. But it is totally different when you get to spend time with those people in a room in person, talking about the challenges, because we are, as a marketing function anyway, still quite small, so there's only a couple of people in each place. So we need that support network, but we give it to each other and we value it and invest in it, so it works.
Well, nothing quite replaces that face-to-face time, does it?
Not quite.
No. And this collaboration, so we've touched on the importance, I guess, of the collaboration between product and product marketing. How does that work at Spotify, and what's been the key to that really tight connection between the two?
How does it work? I mean, at the very, as I said, the start of it is very much in the space of, we have people who, in effect, they are like the whole of marketing, like as far as product are concerned. So, we work with the product teams. We've done a lot of work to make them aware that we even exist. And I think we're actually in a great position now because it's a lot more pull than push. The teams kind of value the partnership. So we will work with the product teams as they are starting to evolve and think about new product experiences, new personalized sets. We do drop into the product development process like as it's going along. As we're a small team, sadly we can't like just dedicate all our time, to that one process, but we will be involved in even the creation of the kind of insights, like foundational work. We'll work, we could join design sprints with the product team. We join, we have Hack Week still within Spotify. So my team just recently were involved in the entire Hack Week and actually, did a hack from start to finish. Awesome. And actually, I think it's something that's going to ship pretty soon. And then as we get closer to the product coming to market, as I said, we start to provide, I guess, some structured thinking around what is the value proposition, the messaging framework. And then we start to, obviously, we work with our agencies and start to build out the communications material, the marketing material. As I said, I mentioned before, like we're like, if you need a toolkit, like come to us. Everything we do is toolkitted so that we can then, share that with our regional teams. We work with our, the PR teams as we start to kind of get closer to launch dates. And then, obviously it's not all done once it's out, and launched. We'll then work with the product team as they see, the impact, see how the consumption is. There's a lot of metrics that we jointly measure, and we may need to refine work that we've done. We may need to rerun campaigns with different segmentation, and eventually it kind of folds into, I guess, more evergreen product education programs that we run, because obviously it's great to launch things, but there's a lot of people that join Spotify a week after you've launched something, and they still need to know about the experience. So
Yeah.
we work then very closely with the CRM teams and the marketing teams that build our welcome programs and things like that. So it's kind of a continuous, never-ending process.
I'd be fascinated to learn how the Spotify model has evolved since the infamous white paper by Henrik Knieberg, if I'm saying that correctly. Apologies if I haven't, and Anders Arvason, in terms of how the organisation at a larger level is structured to facilitate agility, like squads, tribes, chapters, guilds. I think they released this academic paper back in 2012 and probably quite didn't foresee the take-up of that and how many other organisations would see that as a model to scale Agile. But I'm sure it may have morphed and evolved since then. So at a high level, has that changed much? Is the organisation still kind of organising itself in that way to facilitate agility?
I would say, yeah. I mean, as I mentioned before, I wasn't aware of the white paper, and I've worked with Anders on a few projects, so had no idea that he was famous or infamous in the Agile world. So actually, I read the paper for the first time in preparation for this. And I would say, at a high level, yes, that is how our product organization is structured. We work very closely with these kind of cross-functional squads. We also work at both the kind of tribe and the mission level. So, the mission will often sort of set the kind of broad strategic directions that we need to move towards. And obviously from our standpoint as a marketing organization, our timescales are a little bit different to how things work on the sort of Agile product side. But primarily, that's how it works. And we, each squad will tackle a challenge or a problem. There won't be necessarily a preordained kind of way of approaching that challenge or that problem. It's for the squad to kind of determine what's the best way to approach it. And we can be involved at that level as well when they're, as I said, like running design sprints or looking at different opportunities. We work with them on some of their testing and kind of iteration programs. I think there are some differences. I don't think we have chapters anymore. Certainly the kind of guilds, the guilds of kind of skills in terms of the engineers, the design organization and the product organization, they invest in time cross-functionally to kind of share, skills and experiences and understanding. So I guess at a high level that, we work like that every day. I just never realized it was so groundbreaking.
Excellent. And like you say, it's usually up to the team or the squad to work out which framework, whether it's Scrum or Kanban or which Agile methodology they might use. But within marketing, do you practice stand-ups or sprint planning or sprint reviews or any of that Agile practice, or is it more just the mindset that you adopt?
Yeah, we don't within marketing itself. No, we don't. We obviously sort of, as we are part of that process as well with prep, we will be in those processes. We will be in scrums, and certainly like as the product gets closer and closer to launch, my team could be in the stand-ups. They'll sort of start to build in like the marketing kind of deliverables as well as the product deliverables to get towards a launch. So we're kind of sucked into that process. But I mean, we, naturally, obviously, product marketing has to be pretty agile to be able to adapt to that. And I think that, we spend a lot of our time, honestly, kind of translating like what we know is happening in that sort of agile world and giving a perspective to the marketing organization. So at least they can hold windows of, media or time or resource or investment in preparation for, a new product launch that, they think will be important in their market. So, we do a kind of lot of knitting, I guess, as I call it, like between those two organizations. But I mean, honestly, like visibility of what's happening makes a huge difference. Nobody is going to hold me to it if a product launch date, slips. There's an obvious understanding in marketing that those timescales are evolving all the time.
And again, my ears pricked up when I heard the hack weeks and the design sprints. And, back in my past experience as a CMO, I used to do those with the team just to inject some creativity and actually come up with new ways to go to market or new campaigns or new products. And I found it a great way to unleash some creativity in the team, give them a space to really think of new ways to do things, and then that carries out in their day-to-day. How important are those hack weeks and design sprints and that time and space for the marketing team to get involved and to remain creative and keep innovating?
I mean, it's incredibly important. And honestly, we talk about that as the kind of nirvana for product marketing, which is being involved from the very beginning, from the very inception of an idea. We also have invested a lot of time and space in also kind of sharing back the vision for the brand and I guess what the brand is rooted in, and a lot of work that we've done recently around listening is everything. It's all about kind of listening is about connections, connecting with yourself, connecting with friends and family, connecting with the world. And we've, sort of run workshops in the other direction with product to say, like, this is the brand that, we're building and investing in and continue to invest in. Let's look at how that can help generate and spark ideas within the product organization. And I mean, amazingly, we did that, for the first time, I guess only like maybe a year or so ago. And I think that connection is already showing like a lot of incredible kind of shoots of innovation within the product organization. I think it's helped them, think about directions that they want to take and the experiences they want to create. It's different teams pick up on things, different teams embrace things in different ways. But we see that just having a huge impact on both the kind of experience, but then also how we want to tell that story. And we also share, I mean, there's a lot of work within the marketing teams as well. I mean, we have such an incredible group of marketers in Spotify. I'm always inspired by the work they do. We have creative share out sessions where anybody from across, the whole marketing function can come and talk about their like Brazilian podcast campaign or the, the 40 plus campaigns that they've been running in Australia, whatever it might be. And I think like that kind of spirit of sharing and all hands, and there's a lot of that mentality which has kind of come from product, which is naturally in the marketing organization because we're Spotify marketing, which I think makes a big difference.
I love that it's two-way, marketing, messaging, informing product and product informing marketing, and
that's
and those
three.
Brilliant. And the sharing is obviously so important in a global organization where there's often silos and communication gaps, and you don't want to be recreating the wheel. Does it go as far as to share the lessons learned as well and some of the failures? Because I imagine in tech companies, they often embrace this kind of fail fast, or at least trying new things. And to be successful, you got to be brave and bold and try things that won't work, but it's how you learn from that.
I mean, that is such a pervasive element of the culture at Spotify. I almost can't imagine a world where you don't work like that. So everything that we do with our campaigns or regional campaigns or the programs that we run with product, we will have retros, we will share what worked and what didn't work. I mean, obviously, like the A/B test is the central sort of tenet of how product evolve the experience. We will do that with our marketing messaging, and there's never any sense of things not working being the fault of any, everything is approached with a sense of, well, if it didn't work, then there's a reason for that, and we understand that reason, and then we will change what we do and we'll do something different next time. So that is very fundamental foundation of how everything works in Spotify. But in particular, we always have those sessions with product, sometimes things, they don't land that well, or, as I said, the segmentation may not be perfect, but there's always a sense that it's a good thing that we know that, and then we will.
Wow, there's been a lot covered in this interview so far. As a marketing leader, we know you like to spend more time taking action and less time taking notes. So we've got you covered. We packaged up all the tips, strategies and resources from each episode into some beautifully crafted notes just for you. Not ugly AI-generated transcripts, but real notes taken by a real person on our team. To grab the notes, head on over to growthgenerators.io, look out for this podcast episode and download the notes. But be quick, they're only live for a few weeks after the episode airs. Now, back to the show.
Excellent.
It's a good way to live.
Yeah, it is, and it's not that common. I think you may take it for granted in a tech company like that, but I know a lot of the organizations that I consult with, it's not always common, but I think it'd be so rewarding to work in that organization that really takes risks and shares learnings and is bold. Now, obviously, you've achieved a lot over the last 4 or 5 years in the role, and you've grown this product marketing capability almost from scratch. What have been two things? What have been your proudest moments or biggest achievements, and what's been the biggest lessons you've learned over that time?
I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, we work on such amazing products. It was something that took me a long time to adjust to, working with a product and a brand that people love. Like I spilled my coffee the first time I saw NPS scores. I was just like, what? I was used to living in a world where if you didn't have a negative NPS score, you were totally flying. So, I think I'm proud, but I also feel very lucky that as a team, we get to work on experiences, like I said, the kinds of things that people people love it. They love their time capsule. They hear that song from 1992 that they haven't, and it just it's such a joy to be able to tell people about that kind of stuff. So I feel I'm proud, honestly, of also the kind of regard that the team has developed, which is kind of a very internal thing. I see how far we've come in this time, and I also see as you said, we're always thinking about the future, but how much that unlocks in terms of what we can do in the future. I think is kind of exciting. So I'm not going to call out, oh, we worked on the mobile launch or the I mean, when I look at the numbers, though, I would say the not just the numbers in terms of overall growth of the company, but we had this strategy around ubiquity and being available, and I think it was really interesting during COVID. I don't think any of us, even at the highest level, had really realized how critical that ubiquity strategy was. And in many ways, in the past, it wasn't the coolest part of the kind of product experience to work on, but the reality is that when you can take this experience with you and it remembers what you can get to your playlist wherever you are, this seamless experience, I just think it's a brilliant thing to have been able to kind of work on and help grow. You see the numbers of people slowly, you launch a watch integration and millions of people are suddenly oh thank God, I've now got Spotify. So I think there's lots of stuff. I mean, learnings, I think the biggest learning actually is, I'm slightly reluctant to say this, but the Swedish way of working, they have this term in Sweden called Lagom, which is it's kind of everything in moderation. It's not about being up here, it's not about being up here, it's just about keeping things on a level and but sustaining it over time. It's just find a balance in your life, in your work, that is in just the right level. And I think as you go through your career, I think that has been really helpful to kind of have that perspective. I took on this team, and in some ways it's like, you know, a million years since I started it. It takes probably longer than you think, and you need to kind of build up those foundations. And if you do it in that way, then it has kind of sustainability, I guess, across the organization. So yeah, I've embraced that. It wouldn't be my natural way of of being, but I've started to embrace that, and I think it really has really helped in our journey. Yeah,
I like that. That's a
Look it up.
marathon, not a sprint. And I imagine in a tech company, that's growing so rapidly, you know, there would be a lot of pressure on the team to constantly be delivering and working across multiple time zones. It's nice to have that philosophy back of mind that, you know, how do we get to a sustainable working pace and a bit of balance to sustain the high performance and not have those peaks and troughs and crash and burn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Love it. Well, that brings us to the end of our formal part of the interview. We might go into the rapid fast five if you're ready for that, Lotte. Okay.
Go for it.
Let's do it. So what do you believe are 3 essential capabilities or criteria of a high-performance marketing team?
So my list, passion. I think you have to be passionate about the experience, the product that you're working on. You probably picked this up, but collaboration, I think, is one of the most critical things, to be honest, any team. And then the last one I would say is measurement, which sounds quite dull. If you need to show the impact of what you're doing. And I think like that is super important. And the more you can show the impact, the more you build credibility, the more you have, you know, people's ear. So those would be my three.
And I think that you share the same metrics of the product team is crucial as well. So you're not measuring vanity metrics, you're actually measuring MAUs or whatever the product team's trying to achieve. Is critical.
Exactly, yeah.
And how would you describe your marketing team's culture in one word?
Well, and now it's repetitive, but I had collaborative again, because I feel like, you know, we, as I said, we rely on each other within the team, we rely on each other, you know, in a broader marketing sense. So, and everywhere that we've got great examples of collaboration, they are the best campaigns and the most effective things that we've run. So,
Fantastic. And what is one metric that you've successfully used to track and measure team performance?
Well, it would be MAU. So monthly active user. I mean, that's been a metric for, you know, in entire divisions of Spotify, but I think it's been great as a marketing function to have that. And what's been interesting for us is that we haven't really cared whether they're, like, from our standpoint anyway, they're a paying user or they're a free user. You know, we just want people to use the product, enjoy the product, find the features in the product that we know they're going to love. And then, you know, the downstream metrics, you know, on, you know, brand love or engagement or connection, all stem from that. So that works.
Brilliant. And what is one skill or capability you've learned recently that you wish you'd learned earlier in your career?
I got self-belief, but it's not really a skill or a capability, is it? There is, I don't know, or it's like evangelism or something. It's like you have to be able to kind of tell the story of why what you're doing is important. I think like having done that, it's made a big difference.
I can understand that, you know, positioning the team and setting up that team and making sure they're delivering value, that makes sense.
And shouting about it, I guess. Not shouting about it, but making sure, you know, that people see what's happening. Being
confident to tell that story and not be shy about it.
People love it. We're interested to
for sure. And what book or books have you read that you found yourself recommending to others, or that you think the audience may gain value from?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I don't read a lot of business books. I don't know if that's good or a bad thing. But I did, when I was in Australia at 3, we did a big sort of leadership program, and there's a book called Conscious Business by a guy called Fred Kaufman. He went on to be like head of executive leadership at Google and LinkedIn, I think. Very smart guy. But it was a book that talked about leadership being a choice. And I was like a relatively I was a manager level at that time. I really wanted to kind of like, you know, move up through the organization. And I had this sudden realization of like, nobody, yes, you can have structural authority. Yes, you can be in a position or have a title that gives you the sort of like permission to lead, but actually you don't need permission to lead. No. You can choose to lead whenever you want. And like, that was like a sort of switch that changed in my brain, and I stopped apologizing and asking for permission and just started to lead. And it was a brilliant, like, transformational book for me.
I love that. Often, hierarchy and title gets conflated with leadership, but it is something entirely different. It's, how you go about yourself and the values that drive you, and how you build capabilities of your team, and so many things inherent in that, other than a title. And leadership's something you definitely earn. So where can people go to get in touch with you or find out either more about yourself or Spotify, Lotte?
I guess they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there. Spotify has, Spotify.com is a pretty good place.
If you don't already have the app on your phone.
We share a lot of stuff through .com in terms of, like, we have the newsroom, we have something called On the Record, which talks about like the new product releases that we're working on.
Excellent. And that's Lotte Spencer if you're looking Lotte up on LinkedIn. Well, Lotte, thank you so much for giving up your time today. I know we've gone a little bit over, but I was just fascinated in the conversation. So, thank you so much.
You've been listening to Lean Mean Marketing Teams with Ty Hayes. If you love the show, please remember to hit subscribe so that you can discover more tips and strategies to build a high-performance marketing team. And if you're feeling generous, please tell someone about the show who you think would benefit. We're on a mission to help CMOs build their dream team and enable marketers to do their best work. And we appreciate your help in spreading the word.